Guys, I've got nothing. I do not do live streams very often, and I have never done the whole just go live and see how it goes. So I hope that if this does not go well, you do not hold it against me. But I did not want to let the day go by without providing some type of Kansas City Chiefs content. And there are a couple things worth maybe starting off. The Jaguars released Zay Jones, receiver Zay Jones, and it made me think, Zay Jones is definitely a competent and capable NFL wide receiver. He's not a superstar. I think that he's probably, and the stats would back this up. I think that he's probably a step above Sky Moore, and maybe a step and a half above Sky Moore. Do I want Zay Jones as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs? I don't think so. Greetings, Bout Time. I have nothing to talk about, so if you have anything Chiefs related to talk about, let me know, and we could start there. But it made me think about Zay Jones being cut by. Hey, Scott. Zay Jones being cut by the Jaguars made me think about this Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver staff. And depending on how things do work out with Rashee Rice, I think I might be all right with the room as it stands. There is, of course, Hunter Renfrow still out there. As far as I know, I don't think he's signed anywhere. So would I like Hunter Renfrow? Hello, Ruben. Would I like Hunter Renfrow as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs? I'm not sure at this point. Zay Jones, I don't think so. I think really what it comes down to is getting to camp and seeing exactly what is going on with this team, seeing exactly what soft spots still there are on the Kansas City Chiefs. And when I take a step back and I think about it, guys, Fabian Levette is going to make this team, I think. Hello, Barbara. Fabian Levette's going to be on this team. So I think that the defensive tackle stuff might actually not be as weak as I had imagined it being going into this season. So I'm not sure exactly where the weaknesses will. Of course, there's not superstars everywhere on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs, but what you have to do is at this point, I have no idea how Fabian Levette went undrafted either. What you have to do at this point is weigh the future versus the now, because what you would have to do, the Kansas City Chiefs have some cap space left, but not a ton of cap space. So you would be backloading any contracts that you decided to sign. If therefore you decided to sign someone on short notice and were trying to fill a temporary hole on the roster, what you're going to be getting is not a superstar, right? You're going to be getting someone like Hunter Renfrow, who is a productive player in the NFL, but having to backload that contract for a player who is not premier is going to end up damaging the prospects of a future Kansas City Chiefs team simply by way of having contracts that are bigger than the value provided by their counterpart, the player in question. So it's weird that that was set off in my mind just by Zay Jones being cut. But if we were, you know, Kansas City Chiefs to sign Zay Jones, it's strange how fast that changes. It's strange how fast that changes because I agree, Ruben, waiting for more cuts is going to be interesting because there's going to be people that definitely are going to be interesting prospects. We've had a couple deep classes at wide. Two of these seasons, I think we're going to see some surprise receiver besides. I know Ruben's got something. No one. All right. Is it cutting in and out? Oh, is it cutting in and out? I hope not. My connections. I heard the Chiefs cap space is around 20 million. Is that after Kelce's new? Jacob, if that's true, I am completely out of the loop on that. I thought we were in the 7 to 10 million range. So let me see if I can figure out what anybody on the internet says about this. I thought we were in the 7 to 10 space, but this is from, okay, so I don't know if I believe sharpfootball.com. Sharpfootball.com says the Chiefs have 15.3 million in available cap space. According to that's according to Over the Cap as of 3/17/2024. So not quite that amount. Over the Cap right now lists the Kansas City Chiefs at 20.157. I do not see a date for that. That is prior to the Kansas City Chiefs draft picks being signed. I thought it was between 7 and 12 million. So to sign the class, depending on, the draft slots and things like that. Hello, David. Jacob says, yeah, it's time. Oh, it's cutting out for you too. Well, I don't know. It says I've got a strong connection, which is rare because I have Spectrum. So I don't know what exactly is going on there. I apologize. Kelce's raise didn't really add a lot to the cap hit. Yeah, he was he just wanted to be the number one paid tight end by $100,000. That's a pretty Kelce move. Something to say he did it, I think, more than anything. Kelce will be able to make so much more money off the field than on the field anyway. I mean, obviously with his profile being raised by the girlfriend there, but also Kelce, going back to, was that his rookie season or his second season? He had the Dating Kelce show. So he's got some acting credits now as well. Probably that guy could do modeling. So yeah, I don't think that the money made through Arrowhead Stadium signed by Mr. Hunt is going to make all that much of a difference for Travis Kelce. So, I mean, and you were probably the greatest receiving tight end in history with 3 Super Bowl rings. If you wanted to raise a couple $1,000s on a weekend, all you would have to do is go sign cards or posters or whatever. Anybody with anything to talk about? I apologize. I have absolutely nothing. Yes, Hall of Fame tight end, first ballot Hall of Fame tight end. They might start calling it the Kelce round of the tight end Hall of Fame class, or induction if you get in on the first try. What about the Chiefs' third string running back? Oh yeah, Scott. There you go. It is interesting to me because I'm not 100% positive that it is the third string running back that we will be waiting to see who takes that spot. I think it might be the second string running back, guys. I'm not sold on the fact that Clyde is going to be a home run to make this roster. Tell me what Clyde Edwards-Helaire brings to the table besides experience that you don't at least see from any of these other running back prospects. I don't know what it is at this point. I really don't. He's not a bad running back. Don't get me wrong. But in the NFL, not a bad running backs. Every team has 4. How many of these guys that the Chiefs have signed following training camp have actually been as good as Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He knows PB. LOL. Was PB? Travis could be the next Butkus or Bubba or OJ. Oh, as far as off the field stuff, yeah. I don't know who Bubba is. Oh, he knows the play. Yeah, the playbook. Okay, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think, as far as I can tell, that is it. That is the only thing that Clyde Edwards-Helaire brings to the table that none of the other running backs do. But really, that's what all of training camp is for. Guys, I just don't see it with Clyde. I really don't. I'm not trying to rag on the guy. I defended Clyde for 2 years on this channel. I defended Clyde as saying, look, he's not bad when he's on the field. He's got to stay on the field. I remember last preseason doing the math that he is actually available for the Kansas City Chiefs at a lesser rate than was Sammy Watkins. So Bubba Smith was paired with Butkus in the movies. Good team. Oh, that's news to me. I did not know that, David. Ruben says Clyde is a nice guy. Yeah. Seems like a real nice guy. I'm not sure how many wins you get out of nice guys. Anybody with anything, any topics, something to talk about, questions, something to address, ideas. Anybody have any plays drawn up? I've got a couple. If Andy's on the other end of this screen, I've got a couple. Especially with the start-stop ability of Xavier Worthy. That is going to be something that is going to be here's what I want to see with Xavier Worthy. I want to see the tempo change on motions. Are they going to use Xavier Worthy? So here's what I really mean. You go in motion at the regular motion pace. The moment you pass behind the quarterback, turn on the jets. Because if you're not in zone coverage, and kind of even if you are in zone coverage, because the defense is constantly working out who is it that may be in this zone once the ball is snapped. So Xavier Worthy starts motion, passes behind Patrick Mahomes, turns on the jets. All of a sudden, all of those players their eyes are glued to Xavier Worthy because they're trying to figure out where that motion is going to stop. That is something that can absolutely destroy man coverage, for one, because all of a sudden you have a safety whose responsibility it is to cover Xavier Worthy until he passes behind the slot receiver, for example. But once he passes behind the slot receiver, that safety is responsible for the slot receiver. So they have to recognize that prior to the snap of the ball. Another thing I am interested with Xavier Worthy on the Kansas City Chiefs is how they are going to work routes in tandem. A lot of times you see for example, a post paired with a go route. Are you going to go that predictable with these? What would be interesting to me, you have Xavier Worthy in the slot, you have Rashee Rice out wide. Rashee Rice runs, or we'll do it with Hollywood Brown, because I don't think that Xavier Worthy is going to be following Rashee Rice on the field. So you have Hollywood Brown out wide. You have Xavier Worthy in the slot. You snap the ball. Hollywood Brown's route is a post route. 15 yards and post. Xavier Worthy is running a 15-yard comeback. That becomes extremely difficult to cover when both of these players are speed merchants. because you have to be over the top of them. So once you have the slot here, Worthy, and you have Hollywood Brown here, this is the same boom, boom. At that point, which player, the safety or the corner, the slot corner or the far corner, is going to be abandoning their responsibility? I didn't give enough credit to this coaching staff, perhaps, because Brown and Worthy are the same kind of receiver. And you think to yourself, well, a lot of you want a grab bag at your wide receiver position. You want a fast guy. You want a guy that's going to be able to catch balls in the corner of the end zone. You want a guy who's real sneaky in the middle of the field and can get open at any time for a 3-yard first down. Maybe you don't. Maybe if you're Andy Reid and you're good at using players to their strengths, maybe you just want players with elite strengths, even if their weaknesses are very pronounced as well. David says, our horizontal passing game has been pretty weak. Exactly. I think it was Chris Broussard. I think that's the fella's name that's on the television with Nick Wright. I catch them on YouTube, but he's on the television show with Nick Wright. And he said that for 2 seasons now, the Kansas City Chiefs have had a Ferrari, but they've been driving it like a Corolla. Now, in one offseason, they've got that Ferrari, a Ferrari. So I don't know that we have we ever seen an offense like this in the NFL? And obviously we haven't seen it yet, so I don't mean like the production, but I mean an offense constituted the way that the Kansas City Chiefs offense is constituted. I'm not sure that we have. Oh, Bubba was Officer Hightower on the Police Academy movie? I did not know that. I didn't know that was a football player. Gary says, we know Andy knows how to use Brown and Worthy. I'm in the belief Mahomes could potentially have his best year as a Chief. I think we are actually going to also see Isaiah Pacheco have his best year as a Kansas City Chief. We might see Mahomes win his 3rd MVP this season if Andy Reid is willing to uncork, if they are taking this as a revenge tour for all of the doubters and naysayers the past couple of years. The past couple of years, there's been doubters and naysayers, and the most the Kansas City Chiefs could do is win. That's the most they could do. They couldn't embarrass anyone. They didn't have that type of constitution. But they could win, and they did a lot of it. Ruben says, a lot of motion. I believe so as well. Stoic Drill Sergeant says, this team should scare the hell out of the league. I think there's going to be a large contingency of the league until the games are being played that think, oh, yeah, they got a bunch of little receivers. What are they going to do with Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy once we put hands on them? What are they going to do? Right? We saw L'Jarius Sneed absolutely snodgrass Tyreek Hill in the playoff game. And Tyreek Hill's not a small guy, right? He's a bit short, but he is not a little guy. So Chris Kennedy says a sneaky good signing was Matt Araiza. Yeah, the punter who was formerly with Buffalo. That kid could... The only bad thing about him is we might not see him. This offense might be so explosive that the offense might be so explosive and the defense might be good enough that the moment they cross midfield, they're in 4-down territory. I think there is still some worry with the 3rd and 1 offense, for example, the 3rd and 3 offense. There's still a little bit to be desired, I think, perhaps in that area of things. But we've got to see a 3rd down before we see it. Gary says, Buffalo is our bestie. Andy says, I need a fast receiver. Bean says, how can I help? Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Scott Crosser says, can Connor or Nick Jones take the outside spot from Watson and William? The confusing thing about Watson and Joshua Williams, neither of them seems to want to beat the other out. They must be absolute best friends because neither of them can get one up on the other. One of them will have a couple good games in a row, and I don't see practice, right? So I have no idea why, but the next game, all of a sudden, if Jalen Watson is coming off of 2 hot games, it's Joshua Williams who's getting the most reps. So I have no idea what's going on there, but the Kansas City Chiefs must be fairly confident in at least one of them. And here's another thing. So they're going into their 3rd year, right? And we can say, guys, neither of those two look like L'Jarius Sneed. They don't. L'Jarius Sneed didn't look like L'Jarius Sneed until his 3rd year in the league. He was good as a rookie. He was good his sophomore campaign in the NFL. It was his 3rd year in the league that it was like, whoa, this guy's really coming together. And he was not the L'Jarius Sneed of last season until last season. Emery says also there is 4th and short Carson Wentz stuff, which we stopped talking about the offense. Battering ram Carson Wentz. Sacrificial lamb Carson Wentz. Put him on the field and save Mahomes' knees. Ruben says our defense is going to be good. The only thing, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. So Mike Edwards is gone. But L'Jarius Sneed, right? Am I wrong? Yeah, that's a big hole to have on the defense. That is a huge hole to fill. But guys, one player an entire defense does not make. I think it is possible that the Kansas City Chiefs pass rush is better this year than last year, is simply because you have many young players on that defensive line. If 1 or 2 of them steps up. Carson Steele on 3rd and 3. You know, I went back and I didn't remember, like I said in that video, I thought that he came out last season because I just forgot about it. Right. He had that 1,500-yard season. And guys, there are times, and maybe this is the white thing, right? But he looks like Mike Allstott. Like, not quite as crushing and bruising and punishing as Mike Allstott, but the way that Mike Allstott used to get hit and back up and then keep going, he does that a lot. And I don't know if there's just a problem on the West Coast with tackling or what it is. Parrish says, Chiefs have been to 6 straight AFC championships and been to 4 Super Bowls of the last 5 and won 3 of them. There is no doubt now that Kansas City keeping Reed another 5 years, we should be able to win at least 2 more Super Bowls. If Mahomes gets to 5 rings, how much argument is there against Tom Brady? The next 5 years, so Mahomes is 28 now, is that right? He would be 33. guys, that's kind of when a lot of quarterbacks come into their own. It'll be interesting if they get another 2 Super Bowl rings and Mahomes gets to 5 in the next 5-ish years. And here's another argument, right? If Mahomes gets to a three-peat, how much does that count for? He's got a repeat. Very, very few quarterbacks have ever done that. What is it worth to three-peat? No one's ever done it. What kind of credibility does that add to your resume? A three-peat, something no one has ever done, which, by the way, would mean that you got to a 7th consecutive AFC Championship game. David says Snead's best play last year was his strip of Zay Flowers in the open field after he lost him in cover. That's an interesting point. He lost that play before he won it. Parrish says, Scott says, when will we get Cook back? And Parrish says, Cook will be back at the start of the 2024 season. Ruben says, a lot of youth flying around. This is something that we have to start crediting Brett Veach for. You look at that offensive line and 3 picks in this draft along the offensive line. Now, I don't think they went in looking to do that. I think this was just how their board fell, and the players were too good of value when they were actually selected. And the more people you listen to, the more people you read about this draft, that appears to be the case. I mean, they didn't reach on. There are a few people who think that Kingsley Suamataia was a 3rd rounder instead. Well, guys, he was the next to last pick in the 2nd round. That's a 3rd rounder for all intents and purposes. But even then, the athleticism that guy has does not scream 3rd rounder. The athleticism that Kingsley Suamataia has says this might be a 1st round pick. So in a different draft, I think Kingsley Suamataia could have been a 1st rounder. When you start looking at all of the offensive tackle talent that there was in this draft. So that 1st round, where are we at here? In that 1st round, so first off, 3 quarterbacks, 1, 2, 3. That is a wild thing to have happen. You had Joe Alt at 5. You had J.C. Latham at 7. You had Olu Fashanu at 11. You had Talise Fuiaga at 14. You had Amarius Mims at 18. You had Troy Fatanu at 20, which is that an offensive tackle or no? You had Jordan Morgan at 25. You had Tyler Guyton at 29. The 1st round alone, you had 7 offensive tackles. That is madness. So in a different universe with a different 1st round, could have been a 1st rounder. Scott says, is it worth to repeat with 20 to 25 free agents, to three-peat with 20 to 25 free agents every year? Pat does it with a slightly new team. I think the three-peat is worth almost anything. I think if the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is going to be heresy, right? If the Kansas City Chiefs were guaranteed their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl, all they had to do was trade Chris Jones or cut Chris Jones, not get anything in return for it. And there's a deal with the devil that you get that 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. I think you do it. That is football immortality. So 20 to 25 free agents to get a three-peat? Yeah, small price to pay. I think that is a small price to pay. The weight of a three-peat is massive. Absolutely massive, the weight of a three-peat. It is at 30 minutes, guys. I apologize, but I have to go to bed now. So it was good spending time with you. I am glad we got a live stream in, and I hope to have you back next time.